I really am looking at Trump's shark comms that we've been joking about for months. What's he been talking about? Like, he's bringing up, there's been a lot of shark attacks recently, and to the point where he was getting The Atlantic putting out editorials twice a day talking about how it doesn't make sense that he's talking about all the sharks in the water. And we've got the Hillary Clinton book tour coming up that Kyle and I discussed on Sunday night, and a lot of the dates are coinciding with the election cycle, the meat of the election cycle. It feels like a sacrifice. But whatever the political establishment is doing here, I am more convinced than ever of the deep state archipelago concept that I talk about a lot, specifically when it comes to the media, because I believe that the media is genuinely all in. I think they're cut off, and you can tell because they didn't immediately go all in on Kamala. They were half of them were defending Joe, half of them were pushing for Kamala. When Kamala comes in, as when Joe makes his announcement, the media goes all in, right? So now they're all in on Kamala, and then the collective mind is going to see them go all in on whoever's next. And I feel like everyone has the same gut feeling that there's no way this is it. Like, there's no way this is the end, and we're just going to go forward, and this is the ticket. I mean, if that's what they're going to try to steal an election on, I feel even more confident about some sort of awakening.
And that's kind of what makes Trump's Truth Social post even that much more interesting, because ever since Biden got sick, disappeared, and then came back and announced he was dropping out and did the little press conference, we haven't really seen him much. We saw him at the prisoner exchange where he got on that plane, which it was interesting. You guys see that? I can't remember where I saw it, but that plane that they used for the Russian prisoner exchange was the same. It looks like the same model of plane that Assange was getting on when he was going back home to Australia or whatever. Just notable, maybe. I don't know. I can try to find it later. But I'm gonna show this tweet now. Might as well. This is an interesting idea. Biden's been gone, but he's the one who got all the votes in the primaries, and this is what, and the money, and this is what Trump posted. What are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the U.S., whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by comma blah, Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and others on the lunatic left, crashes the Democrat National Convention and tries to take back the nomination, beginning with challenging me to another debate? He feels that he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency, a coup, to the people in the world he most hates, and he wants it back now. And so there's like a lot of layers to this post. First of all, him seeding the idea of Biden wanting it back. I can't imagine if he showed up at the DNC convention and did some shit. I mean, that place would go bananas. Like, nobody would know what to do. I can't even imagine. We're going to be covering it. I don't know in what fashion, but there will be coverage of the convention. But that's not even the most interesting part to me. It's the way Trump phrased this. He could be describing himself when he's talking about a presidency being unconstitutionally stolen. That happened to him. And then also at the very end here, historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency to the people in the world he most hates. And on paper, that is exactly what Trump did. And honestly, it kind of takes some balls for Trump, knowing that the election was stolen, and who on paper has walked away from that and handed it over to these people. Like, it takes some balls to say that about somebody else when it's kind of you who did that yourself. But is he doing it to get people to be like, bro, that's exactly what you did? Obviously, I don't think that is what he did. I think there's something else that was implemented, devolution. But I found this whole thing fascinating on so many levels.
I saw a few headlines where the mainstream media was picking up on this tweet and kind of demonizing it. I had a few people kind of tweet at me and say, looks like the media is taking the bait. Now, sometimes you can almost see people taking Trump bait, even if you don't necessarily know what the trap is, right? You're like, this seems too easy. And there were a bunch of media figures. The one that comes to mind is Newsweek had a headline like, Donald Trump is now trying to convince everybody that this is a conspiracy against Joe Biden and why that's nonsense. And they had this whole editorial there. And, I don't know what direction it's going in, but it seems like Trump gets the media to tiptoe into whatever trap he wants to spring, and then he does. So it could be that we're going to see some sort of actual return to the stage of Biden, but usually that's not how these things go. And I've been trying to think of what is he actually pushing? Is he trying to get the media to go even deeper in defense of Kamala and Waltz and demonize the Biden administration even more? There's a few different ways that you could game this out in kind of opposite directions and see them being trapped. But either way, they're reacting to the take, and it certainly feels. It was a reminder to me. One of the things I was joking about yesterday is isn't it kind of funny that nobody in the U.S. seems to recognize that Joe Biden is still the current fake president? Like, I know that we're talking about the November election cycle, but Kamala is being treated as the president of the United States right now. It's crazy. They're talking to her when she gets off of planes, doing all the president bullshit that they do. Where the fuck is Joe? I know this is so obvious to us, but to normies, you're like, where's your president? Where is he? And I feel like Trump's truth was sort of signaling that too, of being like, hey guys, do you remember your president? The other guy?
Well, actually, she hasn't taken questions from reporters in like 2 weeks.
No.
And that's what it was so funny today. JD Vance, I don't know if you guys saw that video.
Yeah.
He landed on the same tarmac as her, and he walked over by her plane. And was like, I'm just checking out the plane I'm going to have in a couple months. And, wondering why Kamala never takes questions from you guys. And then he like walks off. It was a pretty badass move.
That's a hell of an